It's the story no one thought they'd see this soon. The WNBA is finally gaining momentum. Viewership is up, arenas are selling out, and one player, Caitlin Clark, has dragged the league into mainstream relevance like never before. But just as the spotlight starts to shine, disaster is knocking on the door. The players have rejected the league's first CBA offer, calling it insulting, disrespectful, a slap in the face. And now, a lockout is no longer just a possibility. It's looking like a guarantee. This isn't just a contract dispute. It's a full-on power struggle that threatens to tear the entire league apart. Players are furious, owners are silent, and somehow the most valuable asset the WNBA has ever had, the one who saved this league, is being completely ignored. If you think the league can survive this without Caitlin Clark, think again. Because the deeper you dig into what's really happening behind closed doors, the more obvious it becomes. This isn't just a disagreement, it's a warning. And if things keep heading this direction, the league may not just lose its season, it could lose everything. What triggered this firestorm? Let's start with the deal that turned players against their own league. The league called it a proposal, the players called it a joke. When the WNBA's first CBA offer hit the table, players didn't just reject it, they torched it. Satu Sabali, one of the league's rising stars and a key union representative, didn't hold back. She went public and called the offer a slap in the face. That phrase caught fire online and became the rallying cry for frustrated athletes across the league. Breanna Stewart, a former MVP and one of the most respected voices in women's basketball, said the league flat out ignored everything the players had brought to the table. "We weren't expecting a yes," she said, "but we were expecting a conversation. Instead, they got silence." And then came the statement, bold, clear, and impossible to ignore. Right before their game against the Las Vegas Aces, Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson read a prepared message on national television. They said, "As the league grows, it's time for the CBA to reflect our true value. We're fighting for a fair share of the business we built." That wasn't just frustration talking. That was a warning shot. Players want more than just raises. They're demanding revenue sharing, charter flights, real facilities, a seat at the table in a league they've carried for decades. But instead of progress, they got a paper-thin offer that ignored all of it. And just like that, the trust between players and league officials shattered. But this battle isn't happening in a vacuum, because the league's financial house is barely standing to begin with. And once you see the numbers, you'll understand why the owners may actually prefer a shutdown. Here's the brutal truth. The WNBA is bleeding money. Last year alone, the league lost $50 million. This year, the losses could climb as high as $80 million. And these aren't projections. They're cold, hard numbers already baked into the books. Despite the growth in attention and media buzz, the WNBA has never turned a profit. Not once in over 2 decades. It survives on the financial backing of the NBA, on the success of players like Steph Curry, LeBron James, and the legends before them. Without those subsidies, the WNBA wouldn't even be able to operate. But here's the part no one wants to admit. For many team owners, a lockout might actually be the smarter financial move. If they don't play the season, they lose less money than if they go through another year of massive operational costs and stagnant revenue. That's right. Some of these owners would rather shut the league down than keep losing millions trying to fix it. And yet, while the league is drowning in red ink, it's parading expansion like everything's fine. New franchises in cities like Philadelphia and Detroit. Talk of a $3 billion media deal. Headlines full of promise. But behind the curtain, that money hasn't landed. The TV deal isn't signed. The expansion cash is already earmarked for facilities and front offices. There's no extra pie to share with the players, at least not yet. Even worse, expansion stretches the league thinner. More teams mean more ways to slice the same revenue pool. That means even less money per player unless profitability increases. And right now, it's not. So yes, the players are demanding more, but they're doing it in a system that's on financial life support. And while everyone's scrambling for power and pay, one name keeps being left out of every conversation, Caitlin Clark, and that silence might be the league's biggest mistake yet. No one in WNBA history has flipped the league's fortunes like Caitlin Clark. Not Diana Taurasi, not Sue Bird, not A'ja Wilson. In just a few months, Clark took a struggling league and turned it into a national conversation. Ratings exploded. Arenas that once echoed with empty seats started selling out. Her jersey became the top seller before she ever played a professional game. And suddenly, everyone, from ESPN to corporate sponsors, wanted a piece of the WNBA. But despite being the single reason the league even has leverage in these CBA talks, Caitlin Clark has been shut out of the room. She's not on the union board. She's not invited to the negotiation table. The player who saved the league from irrelevance is being sidelined, while others fight over the empire she helped build. It gets worse. Caitlin reportedly tried to advocate for spot bonuses, extra pay for teammates who were overperforming. She used her platform to lift others, to try and raise the tide for everyone. The league said, no bonus, no conversation, just business as usual. And the resentment? It's real. Some players respect her, but they don't like her. That much is clear. One creator even said, there's a level of respect, but I don't think they like her. And that matters, because no matter how many fans love Caitlin, she's navigating a league that wasn't ready for someone like her. Someone who changes the entire economic model. She's elevated her teammates into millionaires through exposure alone. Her influence has reshaped what's possible in women's basketball. But instead of being embraced, she's being treated like a problem. And what makes that even more dangerous? Caitlin Clark has more leverage than the entire players' union combined. Caitlin Clark isn't just a superstar. She's a walking media empire. Without her, WNBA viewership drops by over 50%. That's not a glitch. That's cause and effect. She's the reason fans are tuning in, the reason sponsors are calling, the reason a $3 billion media rights deal is even being discussed. And yet, somehow, the most powerful figure in women's basketball is being treated like a rookie who should wait her turn. But let's be blunt, Caitlin Clark has more pull than the owners, the union, and the league office put together. Her presence is what's keeping this business afloat. She's why the Indiana Fever became a national story. She's why networks suddenly see the WNBA as primetime content instead of filler. Every dollar the league is chasing right now, Caitlin made that possible. And still, she's not in the room. The irony is painful. The WNBA is standing on a gold mine, and instead of protecting it, they're letting jealousy and politics get in the way. The owners should be begging her to lead. The union should be empowering her voice. Instead, both sides are ignoring the one person who actually saved them. And that's not just short-sighted, it's dangerous. Because what happens if Caitlin walks away? What happens if she decides the WNBA doesn't deserve her? Well, some players might actually be counting on exactly that, and their plan could change everything. Here's the twist that changes everything. Some of the loudest voices pushing for a lockout, players like Breanna Stewart and Satou Sabally, aren't just fighting for better pay. They're also co-owners in Unrivaled, a new player-led league built as an alternative to the WNBA. And if the 2025 season gets canceled, Caitlin Clark suddenly becomes the most valuable free agent in women's sports. Think about what that means. With no WNBA to play in, Caitlin would need a new stage. And if she chose Unrivaled, everything would follow her. Endorsements, sponsorships, media rights, viewership. The players who own equity in that league wouldn't just benefit, they'd cash in like never before. One source said it outright. If Caitlin Clark joins Unrivaled, the owners of that league would make more money than they do playing in the WNBA. So now the picture gets a whole lot messier. This isn't just a fight over pay raises, it's a power grab. A possible pivot to a new league where a few players call the shots and cash the checks. And Caitlin? She's the queen piece on the board. Everyone wants her, but the WNBA is acting like she's expendable. That's not a strategy. That's self-destruction. Because while some players may profit from a shutdown, the league as a whole is splitting at the seams. The tension isn't just between players and owners anymore. It's players turning on each other. Behind the scenes, the WNBA is cracking wide open. On one side, you've got teams like the Indiana Fever and the soon-to-launch Golden State Valkyries, flush with media attention, brand deals, and skyrocketing player visibility. Caitlin Clark and her teammates are clearing seven-figure endorsement deals, riding charter flights, and showing up on national talk shows. They're living the future of the WNBA. On the other side, poverty franchises. That's the actual term players have used to describe teams like the Chicago Sky, Connecticut Sun, and LA Sparks. Teams still flying commercial, playing in outdated arenas, and barely keeping up with rising league costs. It's no coincidence that the Connecticut Sun are already trying to sell the team. They just can't afford the arms race. This growing divide isn't just financial, it's emotional. Resentment is bubbling up fast. Players like Sabally and Stewart are furious that while the league expands, their conditions haven't improved. More teams mean more cuts, more travel, more dilution of an already thin pie. They're saying, we're building this league and we're being left behind. And here's the kicker. 80% of the league's players will be free agents next year. That means whatever decision gets made, whether there's a deal or a shutdown, will determine the entire future of the NBA's workforce. This is a tipping point. But with no unity, no clear leadership, and a superstar being shut out of the conversation, how does this end? Because Caitlin Clark may be quiet, but her next move could change everything. Caitlin Clark hasn't said much publicly. No fiery interviews, no social media rants, no union speeches. But don't mistake silence for weakness, because behind the scenes, Caitlin holds the biggest card in the entire league. If she walks away, the WNBA crumbles. The fans follow her, the sponsors follow her, the TV networks follow her. She's not just an athlete, she's the heartbeat of a billion-dollar media shift. Without her, those big expansion plans, gone. That shiny $3 billion media rights deal, off the table. The owners know it, the players know it, the media knows it. Everyone except, apparently, the people running the league. Caitlin Clark has quietly become the most powerful figure in women's basketball history. She's not just worth a max contract. She's worth more than the entire CBA being negotiated right now. She brings more value than any marketing campaign ever has. And still, no seat at the table, no vote, no voice. The league thinks it can afford to ignore her. It can't. If this lockout happens, she has options. She can pivot to unrivaled. She can take a year off and still be the face of women's sports. She can build her own brand, her own empire, and every league in the world will want a piece of it. Meanwhile, the WNBA will be left scrambling, trying to explain why the only person keeping the lights on was pushed to the side. And that brings us to the final painful truth. The writing isn't just on the wall, it's flashing in bold red letters. The players have rejected the deal. The league is losing tens of millions. And the threat of a lockout isn't some far-off nightmare. It's barreling straight toward them like a freight train. Everyone involved, owners, union leaders, league officials, seems to think they can play hardball and survive the fallout. But they're forgetting one thing. One person, Caitlin Clark. She's not just another player, she is the moment. She's the reason casual fans are suddenly watching. The reason a league that never turned a profit is now negotiating billion-dollar deals. The reason people believe the WNBA finally has a future. And somehow, in the middle of the biggest negotiation in league history, she's being shut out by both sides. That's not just mismanagement, that's sabotage. If the league wants to survive, no, if it wants to evolve, it needs to stop treating Caitlin Clark like a distraction and start treating her like the foundation. Give her a voice, build around her, because without her, the growth stops, the money dries up, the headlines disappear. And if the players keep pushing for a shutdown, if the owners keep pretending they have nothing to lose, if Caitlin decides she's had enough, it's over. This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about vision, power, and whether the WNBA can get out of its own way before the one person keeping it alive decides she's done trying to save it. If you believe Caitlin Clark deserves a seat at the table, say it loud in the comments. 100% for Caitlin.